The sterling silver spoon clinked against bone china as I stirred honey into my Earl Grey, sitting in my usual spot at the massive mahogany dining table. The warmth from the ornate Georgian fireplace did little to soften the chilly atmosphere in my parents' Upper East Side mansion. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing shadows across the silk wallpaper, their light reflecting off the floor-to-ceiling windows where snow fell silently over Manhattan's glittering skyline. Family dinners had become a monthly ordeal since I'd failed to follow the prescribed path 5 years ago. Every gathering was an expertly choreographed dance of subtle jabs and disappointed sighs, but tonight promised to be especially memorable. Not for the reasons my family expected, though. I smoothed down my simple black dress, deliberately chosen to contrast with Amanda's red Valentino number. At 30, I was the unsuccessful older sister who'd rejected the family's legacy in investment banking. My decision to pursue property development had made me the black sheep, relegated to holiday dinners and occasional charity events where they could show they hadn't completely disowned me. The Alexander. Mom gushed for the third time, refilling Amanda's champagne. Her diamond tennis bracelet caught the light as she gestured enthusiastically. The same bracelet she'd refused to loan me last year, claiming I couldn't be trusted with valuable things. 50 stories of pure luxury. To think, my baby girl living in the penthouse at only 28. While some of us, Amanda smirked, dangling her new keys from their Hermes keychain, are still living in basement apartments in Brooklyn. Really, Sophie, when are you going to grow up and join the real world? Even my housekeeper lives better than you. The basement apartment was actually a carefully maintained cover. While they thought I was struggling to make rent, I'd been building an empire in plain sight, using their assumptions about me as the perfect smokescreen. Each dismissive comment had fueled my determination, each condescending smile had pushed me to work harder. Dad cleared his throat, shooting me his familiar disappointed look over his reading glasses. Sophie, perhaps it's time to reconsider your career choices. Your sister followed my footsteps into finance, and look where it got her. Executive VP at 30, penthouse owner, these are the rewards of following proper guidance. I checked my phone discreetly beneath the table, ignoring Mom's disapproving glance at my rudeness. Another encrypted email from my Swiss banking team, final preparations complete. All paperwork filed. Awaiting your signal for the transfer of Manhattan Skyline Holdings. I'm quite content with my choices, I replied softly, remembering the last 6 months of careful planning. Every move calculated, every paper trail obscured, leading to this moment. My tiny property development company had been the perfect front for acquiring shares in Manhattan's largest real estate conglomerate. Content. Amanda scoffed, adjusting her Cartier watch, a graduation gift I'd never received. Sophie, your apartment probably has mold. Meanwhile, I'll be watching the sunset from 50 stories up, sipping champagne in my private infinity pool. The board members practically fell over themselves to offer me the penthouse once Dad made some calls. I took another sip of tea, hiding my smile. After today, the board wouldn't be making any more special arrangements. My team had spent months orchestrating this takeover, buying shares through shell companies, arranging financing through discreet offshore accounts. The Alexander was just the crown jewel in a portfolio of 200 luxury properties across Manhattan. The Alexander is certainly impressive, I mused. Though their maintenance costs are rather concerning this quarter. The board should have addressed those structural issues on the 45th floor months ago. Amanda's perfectly shaped eyebrow arched. How would you possibly know about their maintenance costs? My phone buzzed. The message I'd been waiting for, Manhattan Skyline Holdings transfer complete. All 200 properties now under your control. Effective immediately. Value, $4.2 billion. Just something I noticed while reviewing some property portfolios, I said, setting down my cup with steady hands. Property portfolios. Dad laughed heartily, his voice echoing off the walnut-paneled walls. Sophie, leave the real estate talk to successful people. Like your sister. The landline's sharp ring cut through his laughter. Maria, our housekeeper for 20 years, hurried in looking flustered, her black uniform starched and pristine. Miss Amanda, it's Mr. Phillips from the Alexander. He says it's urgent, something about an ownership change. Amanda frowned, grabbing her phone. Mr. Phillips? What do you mean new ownership? I just signed yesterday. I stood slowly, smoothing my scout. The weight of the moment settled around me like a familiar coat. Years of being underestimated, of being the family disappointment, had led to this perfect moment of revelation. I should take that call. I reached for Amanda's phone, putting it on speaker. Mr. Phillips? This is Sophie Winters. I trust you received the memo about Manhattan Skyline Holdings. The silence that followed felt like a physical presence in the room. Mom's fork clattered against her plate, and Dad's face drained of color as Mr. Phillips's voice crackled through the speaker. Why yes, Ms. Winters, Mr. Phillips stammered. The entire staff has been notified that you now own the complete portfolio, including the Alexander and all other properties. The board is assembling for an emergency meeting to discuss the transition. Excellent. I allowed myself a small smile. Please ensure my sister's penthouse contract is processed correctly. Though, I paused, savoring the moment. Do inform her about the significant increase in maintenance fees starting next month. Of course, Ms. Winters. Will you be using the private elevator to your office on the 51st floor today? Amanda's keys slipped from her fingers, clattering against the antique hardwood floor. 51st? But the penthouse is on 50. Thank you, Mr. Phillips. That will be all. I ended the call and turned to face my family. The expressions on their faces were worth every second of the past 5 years. Sophie, Dad's voice cracked. How many buildings did you say? 200 luxury properties across Manhattan, I replied, reaching for my briefcase. Inside was the documentation I'd prepared for this exact moment. The Alexander is just one of them. Though it's special, isn't it, Amanda? The crown jewel of Manhattan real estate. This is impossible, Amanda sputtered. Her perfectly applied makeup couldn't hide her growing pallor. You live in a basement. You're broke. Dad, tell her she can't do this. I pulled out a thick folder and placed it on the table. Actually, that basement apartment belongs to my housekeeper. I've been living in the penthouse at the Wellington for the past 3 years. You know, that building you tried to buy into last year but were mysteriously rejected. Mom's hand trembled as she reached for her wine glass. But, how? Remember when you all laughed at my tiny property development company? While you were busy mocking my choices, I was building connections. Learning the industry from the ground up. Making deals you never noticed because you were too busy looking down at me. Dad grabbed the folder, flipping through pages with shaking hands. His face grew paler with each document he read. These numbers, these holdings. Sophie, this is billions. 4.2 billion, to be exact, I said, checking my watch. And in about 10 minutes, the press release goes live. Unknown developer acquires Manhattan's largest luxury real estate portfolio. Should make for interesting reading over breakfast tomorrow. Amanda stood up so quickly her chair toppled backward. You can't do this. I already signed the contract for the penthouse. Dad's friends on the board dash. Your board friends were quietly replaced last month, I interrupted. And your contract? It's valid. But as the new owner, I get to set the terms. Starting with those maintenance fees I mentioned. I pulled another document from my briefcase and slid it across the table. Here's the new fee schedule. I think you'll find it's quite comprehensive. Amanda's hands shook as she read the numbers. This is more than my annual bonus. You're doing this to punish me. No, dear sister. I'm doing business. Just like you taught me. I turned to our parents. By the way, remember that charity gala you wouldn't let me attend last year? The one where I wouldn't fit in with the real estate elite? I'm hosting it this year. At the Alexander. In my private event space above Amanda's penthouse. Dad slumped in his chair, looking suddenly older. All this time, while you thought I was failing. Yes. I learned from the best, after all. You always said appearances are everything in business. So I gave you exactly what you expected to see, the disappointing daughter who couldn't cut it in your world. My phone buzzed again. Speaking of business, that's my signal. The press release is going live. I stood, gathering my things. I have a board meeting to attend. My board meeting. Wait, Mom called out as I reached the door. What happens now? I turned back one last time, taking in the scene, My stunned parents, Amanda still clutching the maintenance fee schedule, the forgotten champagne growing warm in its crystal glasses. Now? Now I do what you always wanted. I take my place in Manhattan's business elite. Just not the way you planned. I checked my phone again. Oh, and Amanda? The maintenance fees aren't personal. But the helicopter pad I'm building on the 51st floor? That might be. The noise can be quite bothersome, I hear. As I stepped into the hallway, Maria appeared with my coat. She'd been more of a mother to me than anyone in that dining room. Your car is waiting, Ms. Winters, she said with a knowing smile. And congratulations. Thank you, Maria. Make sure they get home safely. I handed her an envelope. And here's the deed to that basement apartment. It's yours now. Consider it a thank you for keeping my secrets all these years. The heavy oak door closed behind me with a satisfying click. As I stepped into my waiting car, my phone lit up with notifications. The press release was making waves already. But this was just the beginning. Phase 2 was about to begin, and my family had no idea what was coming next. After all, real estate was just the first step in my plan. The true game was about to start, and I had 5 years of lessons in underestimation to put to good use. 2 weeks later, I sat in my 51st floor office at the Alexander, watching construction crews set up the helicopter pad. Below, I could see Amanda's penthouse balcony, where she'd been hosting increasingly desperate networking parties, trying to salvage her reputation after the news broke about my takeover. My phone buzzed, a text from Maria. Your parents are here. They are asking to see you. Perfect timing. Phase 2 was complete as of this morning, though they didn't know it yet. I texted back, send them up. The private elevator opened, revealing my parents looking significantly less polished than usual. Dad's hair was unkempt, and Mom's designer outfit seemed wrinkled. 2 weeks of unanswered calls and closed doors had taken their toll. Sophie, Dad started, then stopped as he took in my office. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a 360-degree view of Manhattan. His eyes fixed on the wall behind my desk, where photographs told the story he'd never noticed. Me shaking hands with major developers, signing massive contracts, standing in front of various properties. 5 years of success, hidden in plain sight. Sit, I gestured to the leather chairs facing my desk. I assume this is about Amanda's latest crisis. Mom wrung her hands. She's been fired. The board at her firm, they said they couldn't keep an executive who'd been so publicly outmaneuvered. Interesting choice of words, I said, opening my laptop. Though not surprising, considering I now own controlling shares in her firm as well. Dad's head snapped up. What? Did you really think real estate was my only move? I turned my laptop around, showing them the financial report. While everyone watched my real estate takeover, my team was quietly acquiring banking firms. Starting with the one you put Amanda in charge of. That's impossible, Dad whispered. I would have known. Like you knew about the real estate. I smiled. Check your phone. The press release should be going live now. As if on cue, both their phones chimed with breaking news alerts. Dad's hands shook as he read the headline. Real estate mogul Sophie Winters acquires major banking consortium, 5 top financial firms under new management. You destroyed your sister's career, Mom accused, finding her voice. No, you did that, I corrected her. By teaching her that connections matter more than competence. That looking down on others was the same as being above them. Amanda didn't lose her job because of me. She lost it because she wasn't actually qualified for it. What do you want? Dad asked, suddenly looking every bit his age. I leaned back in my chair. Want? I want what you never gave me, recognition. Not as your daughter, but as your equal. Better yet, as your superior. And now. Mom's voice quavered. Now, I'm offering you a choice. I pulled out 2 folders. In the blue folder is a press release announcing your retirement, Dad. It details your decision to step down and hand over your remaining companies to more innovative leadership. You'll keep your reputation and enough money to live comfortably. And the red folder? Dad asked. A complete audit of your business practices over the past 20 years. Every shortcut, every manipulated deal, every board member you pressured or bribed. Including how you got Amanda her job and Penthouse. The silence was deafening. Below, I could see the helicopter pad taking shape. Soon, the noise would indeed be quite bothersome for Amanda's penthouse, not that she'd be able to afford it much longer. "You're blackmailing us," Mom said flatly. "I'm negotiating. Something else you taught me." I stood, walking to the window. "You have until tomorrow to decide. Oh, and please tell Amanda she has 30 days to find new housing. The maintenance fees seem to be overwhelming." Dad stood slowly, defeated. "Where did we go wrong with you?" "Wrong?" I turned back to them. "You went wrong by assuming success only looked one way. By dismissing anyone who didn't follow your path. The daughter you thought was a failure now owns your world." As they walked to the elevator, Mom paused. "Was any of it real? The struggling daughter we thought we knew?" "That's the best part," I smiled. "I never pretended to be anything. You just never bothered to really look." The elevator doors closed on their stunned faces. I turned back to the window, watching my empire spread out before me. My phone buzzed again, another message from my team: "Healthcare acquisition proceeding as planned. Ready to begin phase 3? I smiled, thinking of the other siblings, cousins, and family friends who'd looked down on me over the years. Phase 3 would expand beyond Manhattan, beyond real estate and banking. After all, I'd learned from the best about building empires. And I was just getting started.